Hello and welcome. I'm your Geek here, and today I have something exciting I want to share with everyone. I completed my first solo game jam, and I guess that's not entirely true. The completed part is, but the first not so much. So over the last few months, at least two times, I've tried to do a solo game jam, and they all usually end the same way. I like a global game jam. I'm usually at a physical location. When that happens, I'm usually like carved out a time slot in my week or in my month. I'm going to be at that location for the full amount, and that makes it really easy to focus on making games. And I think it's one of my favorite parts about in-person game jams is the amount of focus that you're able to bring to. But with online game jams, I don't even know when the next in-person game jam I'm going to be able to go to is with social distancing and the virus and everything. So over the last few months, I've been trying to do some solo game jam. If it's a 2-day game jam that usually starts Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Friday kicks off great. I'll be working into at least 11, at some point in the, I got what I think is a good idea. You never know if it actually is. I'm feeling great about my idea or an idea that I bounced off back and forth with my wife. She really helps me come up with ideas a lot. I'm going full steam ahead. And then Saturday hits and you get a phone call. Somebody wants to do something and you want to take advantage of all those opportunities. Sometimes that's reconnecting with an old friend, on like a multiplayer server and just hang out for a while. Again, social distancing. Sometimes that's going on a hike. It really depends. But the main thing is Saturday usually becomes a wash. Saturday night, it's hard to get back started. It's not that same hard focused work that an in-person game jam really drives out of me. And then Sunday turns around and I'm usually so behind in schedule that it's not just a rescoping that needs to happen. It's there needs to be a different design, and that usually frustrates me a lot. So this weekend I was going on vacation. I already knew that I was not going to have a whole lot of time to get to this game. At max, let's say 12 hours. I feel like I only was able to give 8, but let's say 12 just because it was probably more like 12 when you count, thinking while not working about on what you should do next and like the whole planning process. So I knew I didn't have a whole lot of time. And I think that really helped because normally in these game jams, I'm going in thinking I'm going to be putting 18 hours a day into the game. And on side game jams, I'm getting close to that. I mean, it's probably more like 12 to 14 by the time you're talking to other people and meeting, seeing old friends and meeting new people. There's a little overhead there, but everyone's still talking about games, so your head's already in that space. And when you come back to working on what you're doing, your head's not changing from cooking and hanging out with this person or playing that game with this person. It's been in the game development area that whole time, and you hit the ground running. So I knew that the scope's small, but I still made the same mistake I always do. I didn't scope small enough. So let me show you where I was at Saturday. This is kind of sad for how long I've been working with games, but I was here at a little pistol, and depends on what time Saturday. I think early Saturday, the bullets were really hit and miss. There's one thing that's missing here. There was a box, mainly just for me testing destructibles. Let me just lay it out there. My silly version of scoping down while trying out Godot, which I made a couple of videos on, and I wanted to use it. A lot of people in the comments really kindly were pushing me toward it. At first, I tried the C# version of the newest update, which just came out Friday, which never do that. Never download the newest version of anything if it's the day it came out. I was not able to get the C# version working. Godot 3.2.1 C# worked just fine, but .2 did not. And I switched back to the older version. I was having some problems getting resources to help me out. I watched a lot of tutorials over that 3-day period. Just using GDScript, switching back to that really did help speed along the process of just looking at tutorials. And I think their documentation's better for GDScript anyway. So I just went with that for the game jam. I will try C# in a later game jam, going with GDScript for now. Doing a language that I'm not too familiar with, I'm not familiar with Godot. I followed their tutorial project on their website for 2D. I followed a couple of tutorials to make this. A lot of them didn't work exactly like I would want to, so luckily the documentation filled in the blanks and helped me tweak it just a bit. My underscoped idea, that idea that me and my wife passed back and forth, one more boss or another boss or something. So you can only stay in one room. That was the limitation in this game jam. You had to stay in just one room. And in that one room, I was going to have this character with the pistol walking around, and every so often this boss character was going to drop in. It was probably going to be just a big cube with 2 arms. It was going to shoot bullets at the character. And different variations, different sizes with different speeds and different amount of health would drop in after you killed the one before. So I think with what I know now, that would be doable in a weekend. But so much of my weekend went into learning about the engine and about GDScript that just wasn't possible. And like I said, I didn't spend the whole weekend on that. It was a trip to spend time with my wife, to relax, to see some friends from college. So there's just a few hours a day that was dedicated to it. So I got back from a hike on Saturday. I'm looking at this scene, and it was really discouraging, and I was really close to giving up. But then, I'll bring it up over here. So this is my my Git for the project. So as you can see, let me take off one line so we have the dates. On Saturday, I fixed the shooting. On Sunday morning, I changed how I was doing the health for the box object. I made it a little more generic, I think. I forget exactly. I know I changed it to using inheritance, but then Sunday morning, I woke up and I was like, no, finishing this thing. And the night before, couldn't sleep, trying to think about a way to rescope it and finish it. And I know I said rescope here, but here's the thing. This wasn't a rescope. This was pretty much... Oh, man. The light went out again. Time out. Okay, I know I was saying something important, but don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Back to the video. This was a redesign. I had to take the mechanics that I'd already made and build a design around them. One which the leftover pieces that would need to be made could be finished in 4 hours, which pretty much just left me with testing, building a level, and UI. So how far down did I scope? Well, what I did was I said, okay, I can shoot, I can move, and I have something that can break. Well, let's make a shooting gallery. So I took the destructible boxes, I shrunk them down to be about the size of a plate. I used cubes and Godot to build a room, to build a counter, and made little shelves. And here we go. I grabbed a color palette off the internet because I'm a programmer. Let me give that job to someone else until I get a little more competent with art. Anyway, I got a simple color palette off the internet. It was 5 colors. I changed the gun from being gray and black to more of a wooden color so that it felt a little more like a shooting gallery. If I had more time, or if I started with this design from the beginning, I would have taken the green canister off and I would have fired more of a brown tan color. So it would have been kind of more like a cork. But I didn't have time. So I thought this was good enough. On completing the game, or on time running out, it releases your mouse. You're able to click restart, and then you right back from the beginning. It's really small. You know, what some people that have never done a one-person game jam might be saying is, why didn't you do more? Or you should have added this or that or whatever. Well, what's important is that I actually managed to finish, at least for me. Like I said, I've done this a couple times, gotten discouraged because of how far back I've fallen, and ended up never completing it. But yesterday I did. And that brought so much encouragement to me. and just made the whole experience worthwhile. I learned so much too. I mean, all that time reading documentation, watching some great tutorials. I even pulled up the 2D Godot tutorial that I had already followed. Now that one was in C Sharp, but I took a lot of the ideas for how the HUD was made there, and I just ported it over, modifying it to work better in this scenario. I used the font from that as well, and I was able to finish. And if I can encourage other people who are wondering about trying a solo game jam by themselves or thinking about taking part in their first game jam with other people, just do it. You'll learn so much. You'll come out of the experience, if you follow through with it, you'll come out of the experience, I think, a better game developer. And so maybe I'm a sucker for pain. But I'll be doing another game jam either this weekend or next weekend, because this was such a blast. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you to the wonderful people who work on Godot who really made this possible. I'm going to start basically a learning devlog for the next month. It's going to be July soon, and every week in the month I'm going to show what resources I've used in that time to try to better my development. And if I participate in a game jam, I'll make another game jam video. And hopefully there's a few game jams in there or a personal project that started that you can see. Hey, I watched this, I read this, I followed this, and I was able to gain this new knowledge with Godot, and I put it into practice in X project. I think that will be useful for you watching. It'll definitely be useful for me in helping me keep accountable. So please subscribe. Please like the video. I mean, if you made it this far, it's right there. It's right down there. Thank you for watching. See you next time.